Hi, my name is Gabbi, Sar-Shalom. I'd like you to come on a journey with me as we explore where the synagogue works these days for young people and what might need to shift in our thinking and approach to the synagogue.
So I think the reason people go to shul is there are a few. It's a religious experience for some it's a spiritual experience, and for some who are really, really busy in their lives, I've heard some people say it's the only chance they get to let their mind sort of empty out and just relax, and they might be thinking spiritual things, or they might be just chilling out in a really broad sense.
It would be nice to want to go to the synagogue more. I'd love to want to go more. Yeah.
So Adrian, can you tell me if you are a regular shul goer or not, and why or why not?
Not a regular shul goer because it tests my patience at the best of times.
Okay, can you tell us a bit more about what bothers you about shul?
I've pretty much been to lots of different congregations across my life, and chronic boredom is the thing which binds pretty much all of that experience.
So there are several reasons that I found about why young people don't like going to synagogue very much. They say it's snobby, they say it's boring, they say they can't relate to the people or the music or the words. They say the cantor's voice annoys them, or that the service is too long.
Actually skived off Rosh Hashanah completely this year.
So I'd like to suggest something radical, that for all of the reasons why we go to shul, whether it's for guilt or to meet another Jewish person, that perhaps one reason to shift our thinking about why to go to synagogue is for spiritual fulfillment. I'm going to list a few things and just give me your kind of thumbs up or thumbs down for if you'd like to see these as part of prayer. Meditation, chanting.
What sort of chanting?
Like singing Jewish mantras in a repetitious and spiritually uplifting way. You can, yeah, exactly, Jewish response. Would that be more enjoying? Things like dancing or meditation or chanting or sharing conversations?
Well, yeah, I suppose if there's stuff like meditation or whatever, the activities, it would be there, but then it's kind of blurring what synagogue is and what isn't. I could go to a yoga class that's not in a synagogue, so why do I need to go to a synagogue to go to a yoga class or to go to a meditation thing? But I suppose if it's integrated with the prayer, it's kind of tough because I was brought up in an Orthodox family, not religious Orthodox family, so going to an Orthodox synagogue where I just sat there as a kid and didn't really understand what was going on, so I wasn't brought up having a connection to the synagogue. And then I went to Netzer, which is that more reform environment where at least some of the things were in English, and we took more effort into explaining stuff, so I got a bit more of an understanding, but I still didn't feel a particular connection, but at least I understood it, so it wasn't so boring to be there.
Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi talks about having to have backward compatibility. In other words, taking something from the past, not letting everything go. So perhaps we do need to hold on to the synagogue model. I think that we have to get over our fear of other cultures. So it's true that meditation has not been a part of Jewish culture over history, but it is there in our culture, and we can see around the world a revamping of Jewish meditation, for example. We're talking about whether we need to throw away the synagogue, to destroy the temple and start again, or whether we just need to tweak the services.
I think that, it'll depend on a person's relationship to their experience of synagogue as to how far it needs to be reinvented.
Integral philosophy is about raising the masses' consciousness. That means making shul accessible for everyone. So if you're in a synagogue that has a lot of Hebrew and your Hebrew isn't good, you're not going to understand what's going on. There's nothing that says we need to be having all of our services just in Hebrew, for example. People used to pray in the vernacular in the days of the Bible, and that's something that we can return to.
All I ever did was kill my mom. All I ever did was kill my mom and dad.
With Victor Grosses, we are a people hopelessly communal. So we do get together, but the level of sharing is not often very deep. I foresee that in order for there to be a spiritual experience with a group of Jewish people, we have to actually encourage sharing between people or in intimate groups where people share their spiritual journeys with each other.
So I'm a member of Temple Beth Israel, and in that Reform synagogue space there's a choir, and I never related to it. It's very historically based in Germanic traditions, and I always, as a teenager, wished like there could be a rock band, or like later on, like wouldn't it be great if they had a drum and bass version of this? From the perspective of being a bit older, again, I don't know whether that would quite work, but certainly it feels like, you know, a lot of the really, like it feels like there's parts of what is at the moment which are archaic, and that certainly is consistent across a number of shuls which have choirs.
In the book Integral Consciousness, Steve McIntosh outlines 6 orientations: tribal, warrior, traditional, modern, postmodern, and integral. Most of the Jewish world, I feel, is still in the traditional stage of a world defined by good and evil and black and white. Some Jewish people, mostly secular, are at the modern stage, looking after the world from their own perspective, what's good for them mostly. And then there are some people who have a postmodern approach. This includes thinking about the divine feminine and ecological issues, for example. The challenge for us is, at what point, where will be the tipping point where people in a traditional and modern model see the world from a postmodern perspective?